Hey there, and welcome back to the mini weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Get into it, mini. Cheers, brother. All right. Well, once again, the voice is no stranger, but first time on the video podcast. Jeff, how you feeling tonight, man?
Great, great. Thank you for having me on again. It's always a great time joining you.
Hell yeah, man. I think the first question I have for you, it's hard to believe we're about to enter week 4 of college football
Yeah.
and week 3 of the NFL. Like, what what are your biggest takeaways, I guess, from the first couple weeks of both college and the NFL?
Uh, the NFL is just the amount of injuries is just staggering to me. I just can't believe it.
Unbelievable.
It seems like also just offense being way down. It seems like in the NFL, defenses are really getting better of the offenses early. And you've been seeing that you got to take points whenever you can get them in the NFL. And then college football, I think the teams that we thought were really going to be good are showing that they're going to be really good, except for
Dude,
Florida State.
my God, I was still that was one of my first picks. So Georgia Tech to just not lose by 11 points was one of the first picks I did for my college
Easy,
football. And
easy win.
I was like, holy shit, they actually won this game.
Yeah,
Like
outright.
I couldn't agree more with you with Florida State. I totally thought Florida State would be playing opposite, chip on their shoulder, F the, committee.
Yeah,
We should have been that fourth team. Who knows against some of against the other three teams, there was just so much star power on those other teams that I don't know that they would have been able to compete. But to be able to say you were one of the final 4 teams in the college football playoff is a big deal. So I
hmm
totally would have thought they would have taken that chip on their shoulder and played with it. They looked like ass those first 2 games, and I can't believe they lost to Boston College.
yeah. That's the DJU experience right there. I actually think Boston College I think is kind of being slept on a little bit. Bill O'Brien is the head coach there, and he is doing an incredible job with that
Oh
team.
my God, that's what I heard, but I was like, I heard that earlier today, and I didn't get the chance to look it up, but I was like, people talking about the Bill O'Brien that I know from the Houston Texans?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
He's doing an
insane.
incredible job. They look legit. They look like they're a big big time college football operation when they run.
Which is hard to believe because usually when you talk Boston College, you're talking hockey.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah.
that's
Well,
pretty much it.
who was the last good player they had? Matt Ryan. I mean, I don't think any other players
And
from
dude,
Boston College.
whatever, did you see him on, speaking of Matt Ryan, did you see him on Monday night on the,
I did not.
dude, whatever Kool-Aid Tom Brady is drinking? I think he's
Yeah,
got Matt Ryan on that shit too.
yeah,
That dude looks good.
yeah. Well, he's kind of always had that look. He's always been a pretty good
He
looking
kind of
guy.
has.
Kind of gotten a little bit better looking as he gets up there in
But
age.
shit, he's got to be, I mean, Brady's what, 45, 46 now?
Yeah, I
Matt
bet
Ryan's
you.
got to be 48,
No,
47.
Matt Ryan, I bet you he's
I
probably
thought he was like the same age as Brady, maybe
40.
a tad older.
No, he just retired this last year. This is his first year being retired.
I swore he was older than I thought he was.
I think he was in like the
39.
2003.
Okay, yeah, no, you're right. 39. So he's younger than, but okay, so he's about 5 years older than us. He legitimately
I
looks
know.
younger than us. He looks younger than.
I know. I hope I look as good as him at 39. That was,
No,
yeah, that was a tough game. I was not watching that cast though.
yeah, no,
I
that
always
was
say take the points in the NFL. Take the points whenever you can get them.
well, no, 100%. I was gonna say it's funny you bring that up. That Monday night game, I believe it or not, I was kind of rooting for your Eagles that night. I was kind of like, okay, I don't know if you listened to the football preview, but Kirk Cousins was one of the couple quarterbacks that I thought everybody was hyping up. He was going to have a great
Yeah,
year. He's just going to do ass. He played, and obviously, everybody after week 1, my gosh, Kirk Cousins looked terrible. Yeah, I saw that coming from a
yeah.
mile away. I totally thought he was just going to lay an egg, and they were maybe going to put Penix in for some garbage time.
No, I'm not feeling too great about that one. Usually Kirk Cousins is good for a nice prime time interception late in the game, and it was actually Jalen Hurts that did it this time.
Well, and it's crazy to think because even back Kirk with the Minnesota days, regardless of who you're playing, you can always use. He's one of those quarterbacks. He's usually you can always count on him for a good 3 to 5 drives throughout the game.
Mhm.
Other than that, it's
It might be three and
subpar or
out,
terrible. Yeah,
three and
seriously,
out,
3 and out,
throwing
5 plays,
balls
two
into
of
the
them were
ground.
negative yards.
Yep,
Oh gosh.
the Kirk
Well,
Cousins experience.
seriously, before we get too much into to the NFL, because for our NFL lovers, we got plenty of that for you guys tonight. The Golden Gophers. Golden Gophers. They kind of took one on the chin to open up the season, losing to North Carolina, which I kind of had the mindset of if they were able to even a 1 point game beat them,
Mhm.
that would have put them on the map more nationally.
Yeah.
As even though they weren't ranked, North Carolina's kind of been an up and coming season. What have you made of these first 3 games, and how do you like their chances to even be competitive for a bowl game going forward?
I mean, they really needed that North Carolina game to get bowl eligible. I think it's going to be pretty tough going for them the rest of the season. I think especially this week. I mean, Iowa looks like they actually have an offense now. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not the league's best, the nation's best, but I think that Brosmer is still a question mark. We don't know what we're going to
Yeah,
get out of him. Darius Taylor looks great, but I mean, he's just a long list of Gopher running backs that look great against mediocre teams, and then
right.
I mean, they got Iowa, then they got Michigan, USC. I think they could get a win against UCLA. Don't have them beating Maryland, Illinois, or Rutgers, or Penn State, or Wisconsin.
I mean,
It's gonna be tough. So it'd be, you know, they're looking at maybe 5 wins max if they steal one against UCLA. UCLA isn't very good. They might steal one
well,
against Rutgers, I think, but I don't think they're going to be bowl eligible. And if they do, it's going to be another quick lane bowl or um,
beating up on Little Sisters of
middle
the
of the
Poor.
week, yeah, middle of the week bowl game that it's on ESPN 3.
The Ocho.
Yeah, streaming only. I don't know. I don't like their chances. It didn't look great against North Carolina. And
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see against Iowa. If they put up a game against Iowa, that could really show us something.
Yeah.
Even if they just narrowly lose, I mean, they're only 2.5 point underdogs at
You're
home.
right. That is.
I think that's just because neither team scores that many to actually blow either team out. I mean, the over under
They
is
can
at
blow out an
35
FCS.
and 35 and a half for the over under. Um, boy, you should be taking that under.
That's gosh, that's a tough line
I could see this game being
because
7-10.
but that's the thing. Like that's a tough line because cognitive thinking and logically, you're like, okay, you look at the last couple games, you're like, okay, for sure the under. But then as a better, you're like, these 2 teams have played the under so many times. At some point, they're gonna just blast that out of the water. Is it going to be this time?
Mm-mm.
But if it's Max, yeah, and I gotta say, I can't remember if I was talking last week with Joey about it or Sam about it a couple weeks ago. But I was really hoping for Brosmer to just, or no, Brosmer. Sorry, it's from what I've heard from the announcers, it's Bro,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever. So
yeah.
Brosmer. I'm really hoping that you know after that Michigan game, because that Michigan game, their only objective should be play it close.
Mhm.
Like, we're gonna lose, play it close, do what you can to not have it be a blowout. But I really hope kind of coming out of that, he can kind of hit his stride and have a good season. I mean, I think part of my frustration with PJ Fleck, and I don't know what his deal is. I kind of brought up earlier in the year. Now I know the other side of it is, who could you get? But we kind of peaked with PJ Fleck in 2019, and we haven't quite been able to get back to that.
Mhm.
So I guess my question to you, because I'm curious from your perspective, at what point do you say enough is enough with PJ Fleck? Truthfully, I
Mhm.
like the guy,
Yeah.
but he hasn't been able to get back to the 2019 team. And I think what this team is in desperate need of is a passing game. For the last 3, 4, 5 years, we have been very much, we got Marcus Major, we got Darius Taylor, run them. And these teams know that. And these teams know, hey, we got to pack the box because if they're going to beat us, it's going to be from the passing game. So sorry, I kind of digress. So from your standpoint, at what point do you say it's time to move on?
I mean, if you're having 3, 4 4-win seasons, that's a tough look for a major college football program in the Big Ten. And if
Yeah.
you're gonna act like you want to be a player in the Big Ten, you better get it together because I could see a day where they essentially tell the likes of Maryland, Rutgers, Wisconsin, even maybe to form their own conference and get out. Because I think there's going to be really the have-nots or the haves and the have-nots. If you're going
Yeah.
to be a have-not, you're going to miss out on all the TV money. Because, I don't think NBC and CBS and all these companies are going to want to put Minnesota Rutgers on a Saturday at 3:30. I mean, they're just,
No.
I think that they really need to get it together, especially with just how things are changing. It's more like, they're getting more consolidated. Look what happened to the Pac-12. I mean, we could end up
Yeah.
being, we could end up being Washington State easily.
Jeez.
I think 3, 4 wins. I think if he already had some type of scandal, I think he'd already be gone, to be honest with you. If he had any type of like
That's
somewhat,
true.
somewhat mediocre, middle of the road scandal, I think he'd
Mhm.
already be gone, where, most coaches, if you're winning 8, 9, 10 games, they could survive it. I think they might have taken that reason to move on. So I do think a lot of people really like him, but the results just haven't been there.
No, they
I like
haven't.
him too.
So
I like him too. I just think
yeah.
the results just haven't been there. I like that he tried something different, trying to get Brosmer,
Mhm.
trying to get a guy who's already shown that he can do it at the collegiate level. Not the same level, but
Right.
still in college. I think he took a nice swing there. He just maybe missed on that one.
Yeah. No, and I think this is the best time, with transfer portal, NIL, all that kind of stuff, to kind of go after maybe a top tier quarterback that maybe wants to go and goes to a Georgia, goes to a bigger school, and realizes, okay, the starter in front of me is a sophomore or a junior. I may not get the playing time. I got to look elsewhere because I mean, again, and I said it. I sound like a broken record because I know I said it for sure 2 weeks ago, maybe last week too. With the expansion of the Big Ten, it's going to be harder than ever for the Gophers to win it, let alone come close to it, because now all it's going to be within 18 schools is who's at the end of the season one, who's number two, and those teams play. And the fact of the matter is, Minnesota has not. I mean, again, the closest they have gotten to playing in the East West game was 19, and they were still a game short. So
Yep. No.
I think the thing I like going into this Iowa game is regardless on any given year how good the Gophers are or bad the Gophers are, how good or bad Iowa is, how good or bad Wisconsin is, those are always close games. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's just one thing you can rely on, like death and taxes, essentially.
And the Gophers and Iowa playing a 3-point game.
So if they can exactly, and I think again, I think it helps that they're at home because if you're the Gophers, you don't want to be going into Wisconsin looking for that fifth game and hoping that there's a ton of teams that just don't make it in that position. So I guess with your answer too, because I'm curious because I think I'm of this notion after listening to your answer. Should the Golden Gophers go? Well, they played 12. Should they go 4-8 on a week to week basis next year? In your opinion, should PJ Fleck be on the hot seat if they go 4-8 this year?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
4-8 is that's bottom. That's bottom. If they're okay with that, people are okay with that, which I don't think we are.
We need to get new
Yeah,
administration in there.
yeah, yeah. I know. Because I mean, that's the school's moneymaker, and if they're going to be paying athletes, they need to be bringing people into the seats and getting those donations to the And he just hasn't really delivered on that either. I don't think the NIL
No.
really is going all that well. I think they've gotten a little bit better this year,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you're a couple years too late. A year too late to get in that. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes this year. Hopefully, he can pull off some wins. Like, if he can pull off the Iowa win,
Yeah.
beat USCLA, maybe sneak one against Maryland or Rutgers, and maybe sneak one out for Wisconsin at the end and go. Get those 6 wins.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a successful season this year.
Just going 6-6.
Yeah, with their schedule. I mean, they got Penn State, USC, Michigan.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's just the thing too. I mean,
Illinois
sorry, go
is
ahead.
really good this year too. We'll see how they do against
I don't
Nebraska
see
this year
Illinois is kind of
or this
sneaky good,
weekend.
and gosh, just gonna say, who we're gonna have to play next year, right? Nebraska. I don't know if it's
Oh yeah,
gonna be.
no,
I don't know if it's gonna be here or there, but that Dylan Raiola is.
I think it's going to
I hate
be
to say it, is
here.
the next big thing, and I can't believe he's at Nebraska of all schools.
Yeah. Well, they just paid him more. That's all I think it came
Yeah.
down to.
Well,
They paid him more.
and I think his dad used to play at Nebraska too, so I think his dad had a
Oh,
big
did he?
say in.
Okay.
I thought that's what
Mm-hmm.
I heard. I don't know if that was just a rumor or something, but yeah, I mean, going back to what I look at the rest of their schedule, Iowa is winnable, UCLA is winnable, Maryland's winnable. Illinois is usually winnable, but like you said, there's something different about that team this
Yeah.
year. Rutgers is winnable, and Wisconsin's winnable.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you're looking at they could potentially go 7-5. So that's why I think we're spot on, and I'm glad we kind of agree on this. We're spot on. If you're going 4-8 to end the season, you're losing 3 games that you probably shouldn't be losing. Now, I understand Iowa and Wisconsin, it's more of we really should be winning these games instead of what the fuck's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
But Maryland, Rutgers,
They shouldn't
like
have lost to North
UCLA,
Carolina.
what?
They just shouldn't have lost to North Carolina.
No, and that's the thing. That's why when I was on with Sam previewing that game too, I said I really, really think how the Gophers do in non-conference play those first 3 games will dictate whether they're bowl eligible or not. And
Mm-hmm.
I went as far to say if they don't win those 3 games, they should go 3-0. If they don't, it's going to be hard, and they're going to probably need some help too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. They
All
needed
right.
to go
Well,
3-0 in that.
I like it. Well, I've been doing more of this you were one of the original guys telling me I should get more into betting and everything on here. I'm going to ask you, Iowa Gophers,
Yep.
this Saturday. I can't believe. I mean, it's fitting because it's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
30 NBC.
Yeah.
I think also NBC Peacock. The line is 2.5, like you said, for Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Over under is 36.5. And money line is Minnesota plus 115.
I got the total.
Iowa
The total moved to 35.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
ESPN. Yeah.
So I guess I got 2 questions for you because I know you're a betting man.
Mm-hmm.
1, what do you think the outcome is? And 2, for our mini weekend listeners, that it sounds like a decent amount of people have been kind of listening to these picks. Outcome of the game, and how would you bet this game?
So I do think that Iowa will win this game. Unfortunately, I think that I don't think they score more than 20 points in the game.
Really?
But I think they held the Gophers to 14 or less. So I would take Iowa, the points, 2.5, and I would absolutely hit that under 100%. I might even take alternate line under 30. It
Really?
is going to be. There's going to be. I don't think there's going to be any offense to speak of. It's going to look like 1900s Gophers Iowa, and you're going to see about 75, no, probably 80 rushing attempts in this game.
Dude, I totally forgot Cade McNamara is on Iowa this year.
Yeah, and he doesn't look great.
Not good. No bueno,
No,
as we say.
no, he does not look great. They have a tough schedule too. Just looking at it, my goodness.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, they have. I think they got Nebraska this year, don't they?
Yeah, they got Iowa State next week. And they got Washington, who doesn't
Oh
look
my
that
gosh,
great.
that's right. I forgot they lost to Iowa State.
Yeah,
That's a bad look.
yeah, tough one to lose. Tough one to lose. But yeah, I mean, I just think that
Ohio,
Iowa absolutely wins this game.
Nebraska to end the season. You host Nebraska, and you know what?
What
The
do you think
defense
happens this game?
You know what? This game's going to be so close that truthfully, I would probably shy away from the spread as much as I love betting the spread. I would probably go, if I were to bet the outcome, I would probably go the money line. And my heart of hearts says the Gophers are going to find a way. But my gut has I think I got to go with my gut on this. And I would probably take Iowa minus 135. And truthfully,
You're not giving up much there for the 2.5 extra points. Just taking money line. I think that's a
no,
pretty good.
no,
Pretty.
exactly. And that's my thing too. Like usually with football, if it's the money line, I kind of look at spreads when it's closer to like a touchdown. If
Mm-hmm.
it's plus or minus 6 or plus or minus 7 or more, that's usually when I kind of like to get involved in the spreads.
Okay.
When it's so close like this, like there's a reason Vegas makes these odds and we don't. Like
Mm-hmm.
they know something that we don't as casual fans trying to be more than casual fans. But when it's just so close, and again, there are other people out there that like making riskier bets. And I think I would probably speak for both of us that we are both very low risk, high reward bettors.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about this off podcast before too. We like, the $5, $10 parlays. We
Mm-hmm.
like all this kind of stuff too. And while I'm on this subject, I should probably do this disclaimer first because we're going to get into this more too. This week, once again, Jeff and I are not financial advisors. So, like we say every single week, if you guys lose anything, we're not liable for that. Just like if you guys win a fuck ton of money, we're not going to come after your winnings as well. All our opinions, but I'd like to think our opinions are pretty spot on most of the time.
I use them.
But yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. I would probably say money line, and then truthfully, I might go against the spread. I might say go over the spread.
Yeah.
McNamara has 2 interceptions so far. Brosmer's only got 1. I think you're right, and I think there's not going to be that much offense, but I think these defenses are pretty good that we could see some high scoring defensive plays, a scoop and score or 2 and a pick six or 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, if you think about it, with it being at 35.5, if each team gets 3 touchdowns or two touchdowns and like an X, it
21-14 gets you that under.
yeah 21-14 is under, but 21-21 or 21-20-21.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
24-14 goes
similar with
over. I just don't
what?
think either team's going to get 22 points. I think it's going to be each team is going to be under 22 points.
Yeah, well, and I guess part of me really wants to believe. I mean, again, you look at these last games for these teams,
Yeah.
and again, I understand Rhode Island is an FCS team. I understand Nevada is not a great FBS team. I get Troy's not a great team. Illinois State's not a great team.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State is a good team that they should have beaten, but
both teams have lost their only legit competition by 1 point.
They really have, and truthfully, I think
by not scoring more than 20 points.
Well, and it's just, and again, I think part of it for me is I look at these last 2 games, and as bad as these opponents were, like you still got to beat your teams, you still got to show up, you still got to put points on the board, keep points off. Unless you're looking at this, I don't think a lot of casual fans understand the Gophers haven't allowed any points, regardless of who they played.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't allowed a single point in 8 quarters of play.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's hard to do regardless of who you play.
It is, and I think I really do like Justin Wally. I think if he keeps this play up, just like Tyler Nubin, he could be a top safety. I think he kind of goes back and forth between safety and cornerback. He could be one of the first DBs, if not one of the top DBs taken off the board in this upcoming draft. And he's been cooking this season too. So you got to think he's got to take these guys under his wing, and I don't know. I'm excited though. I think to your point to whether it's low scoring or not, I think it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, no, I do
Just
too. I do too. I think it's going to be, yeah, I think it's going to be Iowa by 3 points. I think you're going to be right up against 2.5. That's why I do like the 2.5 because I think it's going to be Iowa by 3 points. So I think it's going to be really close.
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
And we'll
All
get to
right.
watch it this weekend. That'll be nice
I know. I know.
at
It'll be
6:30.
nice, and it's a night game too. You
Yeah,
don't. It's nice as a Minnesota fan watching the Gophers and everything like that. It's nice to see them, just like the Vikings. It's nice to watch them any other
yeah,
time than Saturday at 11 or Saturday at 1.
yeah. I think I
So
saw the Vikings only have the Thursday night game left as their primetime game.
they have no. They got, and I get why they snubbed them. Kirk left,
Hmm.
and there was
Yeah.
they have Thursday night game, Monday night game, and then I think they have 2 afternoon games.
Okay.
2 afternoon games and then London games.
Yeah.
So that's 5 games, so 12 just noon games,
Yeah.
which,
I like that.
I
I
don't
like the
mind
noon.
it.
I like the noon slate. It's my
I
favorite.
do too. I don't understand a lot of the I mean, I do, but I don't. Coming into this season, the Vikings had a lot of question marks around them. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of their question marks stemmed from how are they going to coexist and how are they going to play together
Hmm.
rather than the talent.
Hmm.
Because talent, you look at the roster on both sides of the ball, there's no reason this team shouldn't be top 10 in offense and top 10 in defense based off of the names and the talent that's there.
I agree.
Is it going to happen? I mean, they've shown some pretty good games these last 2 games, but we'll have to wait and see. So, all right, I'm looking here. We have something fun and new for you guys coming up here, but I got my college football parlay picks up. You ready for them?
Do it.
All right, so it is worth noting that I took a little bit of humble pie this last week. So I went 2 for 3 in week. So it was I always get confused with week 0 too.
Yeah,
So I went
I
2
know.
for 3 in week 0 1. 2 weeks ago, a perfect 3 for 3, and I was
Ooh,
bragging about it. Last week I went 1 for 3, so kind of took me down a peg. But hey, I mean, still 6 for 9, hitting at 67%
yeah,
so far.
terrific.
Um, so no, can't say too much from that. So the first one I have for you guys is let me see here, UCLA. I don't know if you know this. That UCLA game right now, they are plus 24.5 points. And usually when I see a line that big, it gets me hungry. I know a lot of people are thinking Jack, they looked ass last week. LSU is probably going to have a little bit of confidence winning a nail biter against South Carolina. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to tell you guys UCLA is going to win. I just don't think after a slim win over a mediocre team that LSU is going to pound these guys. LSU could very easily win by 17, 16, 18, probably no more than 21 points. But like I said, I just think this is just way too many points, regardless of how poor UCLA is supposed to do this year. It kind of amazes me some of the preseason hate for these guys for a team that 2, 3 years ago was, probably one of the top half teams in the Pac-12.
Yeah, well, yeah. When Chip Kelly was there, they were going in the right direction for sure. I just remember that I think he's the offensive coordinator at Ohio State.
Oh, really?
Is that correct? I think so.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I was just looking at other incredibly large spreads. Penn State, by the way, is
Yeah.
49-point favorites over Kent State.
She is. Again, I mean, Penn State is and far the better team, but these guys making these odds, like some of these games, you have to think they're trying to help fans out because that's just so many points. That's just so many points.
Kent State just lost to Tennessee
They did,
71-0. So
but
they might get it.
Tennessee, there's a case that Tennessee should be higher than 6 and
Yeah,
should probably be in the top 3.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think they're really good.
And then my second pick on that note, I got Tennessee. They're at Oklahoma this week. They're only -7, but I really think this offense for Tennessee is just really too good right now. I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but Nico Iamaleava, I think, something like that, has
Hmm.
looked tremendous so far. This guy, I thought I heard something. I had to look it up. This guy is completing like almost 80% of his passes so far.
Yeah, incredible athlete. He's a
I mean,
very good game,
he's
a
at
very good
such a
player.
young age, he is kind of your Tom Brady, Peyton Manning-esque, where he doesn't run a ton, but he moves his feet. Like, he's kind of that step up from Kirk Cousins that we always wanted on the Vikings. He's like good arm, solid arm, can connect, but
Hmm.
also just buys himself a little more time, runs when he needs to, and doesn't overstretch his bounds, and knows, hey, next play, my teammates are
Yeah,
probably just going to get over me.
it's invaluable to have that.
So I like those two, and then wrapping it up, I think this is a Saturday night game. I like Boston College too. They're 6.5 point favorites. I can't. Gosh, I thought I wrote it down. I didn't. I don't know who they got, but like we were talking about, I think they look good this year. They surprised a lot of people with Florida State. They did lose to Missouri by 6, but
Yeah,
a
I
lot
saw
of
that.
fans don't know
I
that
know
was only
it's
a 6 point game.
Yeah, it was an incredible game, a very good game. I thought that going into that game, I thought we were going to see a very good Boston College.
And we
I've just
did.
been kind of following them, and I really like what I see out of them. They are playing Michigan State this weekend, so
Michigan State's a bottom feeder. And actually, the thing I kind of like about this Boston College team, it doesn't seem like they have a ton of star talent, a lot of big name players. They're just playing really well team ball. You see guys on the defense not missing a ton of tackles. You see their playmakers making plays and not doing anything stupid. And I mean, again, we're still early in the season, but they're finding a way to beat Florida State 28 to
handily.
13 and then hang in there with Missouri. Like that
And,
21-27 game, if the Gophers could do that against Michigan, that would put them on notice.
mhm. and
I don't
you
think
could have
it'll
a,
happen, but it would.
I think you can have a little look ahead factor with Michigan State too, because after Boston College, they got Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, and Michigan. I mean, they got
uh,
4 games coming up right after Boston College. I can
Damn,
see
so
them
they might
looking
be
ahead.
getting relegated this year, is what you're saying.
I would love to see that happen to Michigan State.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh. Well, all right. Do you have any college football picks for us this week that you like?
Yes, a couple that I had that I loved were I love the USC 5.5 over Michigan. I think that
Really?
USC is much better than Michigan this year.
Really?
Yep, I do. I think that Michigan's or USC's got the much better quarterback. And I just think that USC now actually knows how to tackle and play some defense, except unlike last year. I just think that they're just so much better. What is it, Miller Moss, their
Yeah.
quarterback?
Where did he come from?
He
Oh, he
he
was there
is,
last year too.
yeah, he's taken a step forward this year. I really like what I've seen out of him so far. I think USC is going to beat them by a touchdown, and I don't really think that one's going to be all that close.
I
And I
like it. What's the
love
line on that one?
I love the over 54.5 in Utah, Oklahoma State. I think both teams'
Yeah.
defense is just a myth. They don't believe in it. It's the Big 12.
Yeah.
They don't believe in defense down there, and I think we're gonna get a nice shootout there in what is it, Norman, Oklahoma, or no, Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Dude,
Um,
I think unless you're a top tier team, like college football, defense is a myth.
yeah, yeah, no
Like
kidding.
how many games are like the over under on games that total 100 points or more
Hmm.
has to be set at like 100, like in a span of like the entire season. Like it's just offense, 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 offense. On any given weekend, these highlights they're showing, the games aren't even over, and it's like third quarter, and it's like 37-42 or something. You're like,
I
Jesus
can see
Christ.
that. in this game. I could see this game.
Okay.
I think it's going to be just a light show. Um, and another one I really liked was the over 42.5 Illinois, Nebraska. I think that
Ooh.
both teams have some pretty good offenses. Rayola, and he's going to have a
Yeah.
great day. I can see both those teams getting at least
You mean
21
Patrick Mahomes
points.
Jr.?
Yeah, I can see that being a 24-21 game, and that's well over the over.
Dang. See, that's a tight game. I don't think Nebraska's defense has been getting enough credit. Like, as much as I'm not a big
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska guy, I
Mm-hmm.
have been paying attention to them because this Dylan Raiola is supposed to be the next big thing. Now, obviously, he's got to continue, get better, and still play 2 more years after this and not get injured. But it'll be interesting to see nonetheless.
It will. Have you seen how he does the like exact same thing that
Yeah.
Mahomes does before every game?
And it's so funny. There are grown men out there like just tearing this kid down for trying to be like Patrick Mahomes. It's like, Jesus Christ, like
Yeah, right. It's not like he's
they
out
have
there
the
trying to be
pizza.
some criminal or something. It's just Patrick
Seriously.
Mahomes.
Like
Jeez,
he's trying to
didn't
emulate.
do anything wrong.
And then did you hear somebody asked Patrick Mahomes about it, like thinking he'd be like, "Oh
Did
yeah,
it?
I'm not a fan." He's like, "I think it's awesome."
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right, I like that. So quick fire back. You got USC over Michigan this
5.5.
week.
I got 5.5, and then over 54.5. Utah, Oklahoma State, and then
Okay,
over 42.5. Illinois at Nebraska.
book it, book it. it it'll be a fun. It'll
Kobe.
be a fun week.
I
It'll be a
hope
fun
so
week.
too. Yeah, college football last week was kind of a lull, I think. This week, I think it's
Yeah.
going to be great. Great week
The
this
first
week.
2 weeks, it seemed like there were a good amount of upsets, some like high scoring games that
Mm-hmm.
everybody got like excited about. Then this last week, there wasn't a ton. It seemed like of really anything.
No, I didn't really watch any game. I watched the primetime games this weekend, but there weren't a whole lot of
Yeah,
great matchups on. Oh, I watched the LSU South Carolina game. That was a really good one. That was like the best matchup.
I also was it this last week? I think it was. Colorado State.
Yeah,
So I gotta ask before we move on.
yeah.
What's your whole thing on Shador Sanders not shaking that guy's hand at the end of the game?
Yeah, I think it's pretty on par with what we've seen so far. I think that whole thing is hilarious. If anyone out there thinks that Deion Sanders is going to stay past this year after Shador and Travis Hunter get drafted, you're crazy. He's absolutely leaving that place the moment they get drafted. He's out of there. And I could see him maybe even just going to Florida State because they're firing their coach for sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because my follow up question to that was going to be: do you think he's going to stay in college coaching, or do you think he's just um
I could see
um?
him staying in college. I just
But what
don't
about
think he's
Shiloh?
that. Yeah, I think he'll have him transfer to Florida State.
You know?
I just don't think Dion's a good coach. Um, I think he's really good at the beginning, and then
Yeah,
when people start making adjustments to what you're doing, he's got nothing to do. And
yeah,
I don't think he's a very detail oriented coach. And he's just, I just don't think he's going to make it very much longer coaching. I don't know that that's necessarily his thing that he should be doing, but he
no,
can do whatever he'd like. I know why he's doing it right now. It's to get Shador and Travis Hunter to be top 5 picks in the draft, and that's why you
yeah,
see them throwing the ball with a minute left, up by what 2-3 touchdowns.
yeah.
I think week 1 he actually let North Dakota State have a chance to tie the game because he was throwing the ball at the end of the game when he could just ran out the clock.
Well, I think you're right.
He's just there to get those 2 drafted top 5, and after they're gone, he's gone too. He's taking the Louis with him, and he's going to Florida State. I think.
God.
Yeah, I just don't think that he's going to be doing it much longer,
Yeah,
and that's fine. I get it. Hey, dad doing it for his kid. No harm, no foul there.
For sure.
as long as he, doesn't lead on other kids. And I know that a bunch of kids are probably going to transfer out, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But Colorado's going to go back to probably being really
Yeah.
bad Colorado. 'Cause right now they're actually pretty bad. They're going to go back to really bad.
Oh yeah. No, and I kind of go back and forth on it. I didn't realize at first. I thought it was just Shador just being fucking Shador. Um, but then to find out that that guy had been talking shit all week, I
Yeah,
was like, okay, that's pretty on par, like on brand for these young kids to do. While at the same time, I was like, for a guy that's trying to get drafted after this year, that's a bad look for these teams because, like it or not, these college coaches are looking to see how professional are you. And
yeah.
now I get it's still college, I get it's still amateur football at this point, but still, these colleges want to know, okay, do I have to worry about your on the field or off the field antics? So 100%, like I think young person to young person, I get it. You talk shit, you want to do something like that, fine. Not a good look for his future
The
though.
thing about it, for me is if that quarterback was going to be a top 5 pick in the draft, if that was Rayola, I totally get it. That kid is going nowhere, and you just felt like you got to do that. Like I just
Yeah.
I just think it's that kid's going nowhere after college. He's not gonna get drafted, and you're over
No.
there, doing that to him. Like just be the bigger man, move on with your day. You won the
Well, he's
game.
only a sophomore too, so it's not like he's a junior or senior.
Who?
That Braden
Oh
Fowler.
yeah, yeah. Maybe he actually got offered quite a bit of money in the off season to transfer schools, and him and another guy stayed.
I think I did hear about that.
Yeah, he was the guy who said they wanted to win championships at Colorado State, which was hilarious.
Do it. They got paid to say that, I think.
Yeah, no, literally, I think they did get paid to say that, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, just you beat him, move on with your day. It's
Exactly.
just petty, but it's all right. Sometimes that's what you got to do.
Exactly. Life goes on. All right. Well, this week I I don't know about you, but I'm pumped for this. We're doing something different. So 2 weeks into the season, into the NFL season, we got 9 teams that are 2-0 and 9 teams that are 0-2. I have to say, before we get into what we're doing, I'm kind of amazed 2 weeks into the season how much early season parity it seems like there is. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there is some parity within the tiers of teams. I think
Yeah,
you
I feel
definitely
that.
do have teams that are like the top 5, 6 teams that are going to be way better, and you got some bottom feeders that are just not going to be very good. I think like teams like 20 through top 20 through top 5, they can all win on any given Sunday, like they say. I think there's
Yeah.
a few teams that you wouldn't necessarily say that about. But I think actually no, I think there's about 25 teams in the league that could probably win on any given Sunday. I think they could go out there and win a game. Are they gonna? Probably not most of the time, but I think there is
Right.
quite a bit of parity in the league, especially with how many injuries there have been. It's really evening up these teams.
Gosh, seriously, it's insane how many. I think we were talking about this last year too. It's like these injuries have just happened so much earlier because usually, like I said, I think we talked about this last year. You see so many of those injuries between weeks like what 7 and 12 or something like that. It just seems like it's just happening a lot earlier this week,
Yeah, I know. It's bumming me out.
which is kind of goofy. But okay, so sorry, I always digress. Doing something really fun. Jeff and I are going to rank the remaining unbeaten teams and the remaining 0-2 teams. These are not power rankings. So essentially, all we're going to do is like number one would be the best 0-2 team or the best
Hmm.
2-0 team, and 9 would be the worst of both. So again, not power rankings, because if they were my rankings for the 2-0 teams, if they were power rankings, I would probably have 2 or 3 1 teams in my top 10. But again, not what we're doing. So, my good friend Jeff, 0-2 teams.
Mhm.
I think I kind of want to hear you go 9-1.
All right. All right. Yeah, I think 9 is pretty obvious. I think 9 is pretty obvious. Carolina Panthers, absolute train wreck, top to bottom, organization terrible. It's just really not good. Ownership down to management, coaches, players, not good.
I
I don't
gotta
know if
say, I
there's
don't.
really anything else to say about Carolina other than they just benched Bryce Young, and so now they're
Yeah,
going with Andy Dalton. So if that's your plan B, tough look.
Godspeed.
Tough look. Yeah. Good
Well,
luck with
and
that.
the one thing, if you don't mind me really quick,
Hmm.
the one thing I kind of wanted to add to this Panthers team, if you didn't, I can't help but feel bad for Bryce Young.
Oh yeah,
Like
they totally ruined
you're
his career.
you're no, not even. I mean, yeah, ruining his career, but you're a mere 19 games into your
18.
career.
Only 18.
That's right. He didn't start week 1 last year. 18 games into your career,
Or
and you get benched.
yeah.
This young kid, he was one of the youngest rookies 2 years
Oh
ago to
yeah.
get drafted. One of the youngest ones.
Yeah.
He's been through, in the span of a year and a couple games, 3 head coaches, two offensive coordinators. So as much as this team is a dumpster fire, he's not the problem. I would
No.
give 10 times more problem credit to the offensive line
Hmm.
before I went to Bryce Young.
Hmm.
I can't help but feel bad for him because, again, it's not his fault. And if this, I can't help but think them benching Bryce Young is that management's idea of, hey, we're going to make this move so it doesn't seem like we're tanking. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't really have much to look forward to. They only have their second round pick still this year from the Bears trade. Just
Thielen might
could
be coming back to Minnesota to be our
if
third or fourth wide receiver. Who knows what's going to happen?
if Caleb Williams becomes decent, that's going to be the worst trade ever. That's just such a bad trade, and they're still
That
paying
was
it
a
off.
great idea.
So tough. At number 8, I had the Denver Broncos. They have absolutely nothing going on offense. Sean Payton. I mean, I don't know if you watched the end of their last game. It looked like he was trying to lose that game. He did nothing to try to win that game. It was incredible to watch. I've never seen a sadder field goal than when they were down 13-3, and instead of try to make a one possession game a two possession game a one possession game, they just made a two possession game a two possession game so they didn't get blown out. And then they actually got the ball back. And then they
Oh,
did it
yeah.
again. They kicked a field goal to just now they made it a one possession game. But then they didn't even attempt an onside kick. And they didn't even get the ball back. They got it back with like no time left on the clock.
Yeah.
It was just incredible to watch. The coaching again, terrible. Quarterback play, terrible. They just have nothing.
I gotta say, I'm kind of happy for how the Denver Broncos have played
Very.
these last 2 years, because all I was fucking hearing after the draft was Sean Payton's so great. He fleeced he made Minnesota take JJ. Bo Nix is gonna be awesome. Bo Nix is going to, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Bo Nix is great in the preseason. Any good rookie is going to look good against 2s and 3s, but you put him against starters in week 1 and 2, and he looked ass. I
Yeah,
just
he's bad. He said that Bo Nix was the guy that he wanted all along. Mind you, over Caleb Williams, over Penix, over JJ. He's just bad. I thought he was going to be bad the whole time. Bo Nix, mark it on the calendar, not good. And I think they're in a world of hurt too. They just are still paying for the Russell Wilson contract.
oh, that's right.
They just stink.
Dig that.
It's great to see them lose to Russell's team. Didn't play, but still.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more.
7, I got the New York Giants. That's all you got to say
Okay.
about that is Daniel Jones.
I kind of had those
You're
two
going to notice
flip.
a theme with all these teams: horrendous quarterback play.
Can't help but feel bad for Daniel Jones because you pay him all this money and then you come back and just shit. I don't disagree with either of those personally. I had the Giants at 8 and Denver at 7. But I think kind of like with what you're talking, I think you can kind of flip flop them. Both of them. I mean, Carolina's clearly the bottom. And then I think you can kind of flip those two around. But yeah, I mean
I
the
just think
Giants.
I think the Giants with Neighbors, they got at least Neighbors. They've got the pieces on
They have
defense. I think they've got a legit
the
defensive
defensive
line.
line. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they got some pieces. So I don't necessarily count the Giants out more than Denver. I think Denver's just really bad. And I think
that's fair.
Brian Dable is a better coach than Sean Payton at this point.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
At number 6, I had Tennessee Titans. Again,
Oh
getting really bad quarterback play.
yeah,
Will Levis just cannot stop turning the ball over in hilarious fashion.
no,
He
to
does
save his life.
he does it both weeks. Comical. It's so funny. I think they could turn it around if they start getting decent play out of Will Levis. I think they got some good pieces on offense and defense. They just can't stop turning the ball over.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, the only thing I would say about Tennessee is uh, I don't know why they completely just didn't resign Tannehill. Like
Mhm.
I'm looking at their depth chart. You got Will Levis and Mason Rudolph.
Mhm.
Those are your quarterbacks.
Mhm.
I personally had the Titans a little higher.
Mhm.
I had them at where'd it go? I had them at 3, but part of that for me was I was looking at the teams they played, and one of the things that I kind of took into consideration for these were, okay, these teams, like, who are you playing? Who are you beating? Who are you losing to? Are they close games? And in my mind, it's not like they completely got blown out. They were both one possession games. Bears and Jets, I'm not really sold on either of those teams. I'm not really sold on Tennessee. So I kind of put them higher because it's like, all right, you're 0-2, but it's par for the course for them.
Yeah. Um, at 5, I had the LA Rams.
Okay.
I think that now that's the one I was talking to you about before we started. That I was going to
Oh,
maybe move the Rams below Tennessee because now they're just decimated
yeah.
with injuries. They've got nobody back there helping out Matt Stafford. I think they're going to have a tough time moving the
Well,
ball.
because when you put somebody, I always forget when you put somebody on the IR,
Mm-hmm.
how long are they on? Do they have to be on the IR for again? I always
Four.
forget. 4 weeks. Okay. So, because I mean, you essentially got both your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 on IR now.
Yep, correct. So, and I think they have a couple offensive linemen hurt too. It's
Banged
just,
up.
yeah. I mean, but they had, the close game against the Lions week 1. They had every chance to win that game, I think.
They really did.
And then, they just kind of got barnstormed by the Cardinals week 2. Cardinals came out just
Yeah.
chucking the ball deep to Marvin Harrison Jr. There's nothing they could do about it.
Right. And I think you're onto something with the Rams. I think next week their first week without both their guys will be the start of, okay, maybe we start thinking about a top pick in the draft
Mm-hmm.
because you're hosting the Niners.
Yeah.
And then again, you go to Chicago, who again, a team I'm not completely sold on,
Mm-hmm.
but they do got a solid defense. They
Yeah.
make you work for your yards, and yeah, it could go downhill fast because I mean I think if you're the one thing you kind of hold on to if you're a Rams fan, you only have two early conference games, but at the end of the year you got 49ers, Cardinals, and Seahawks, 3 of your last 4 games. So
Tough.
if they can get their guys healthy and completely ready for those final 4 or 5 games, they could make a push, but I'm not sold on it.
No.
I would have to agree.
No. 4, I had Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
I think, Anthony Richardson is electric. They barely lost to the Texans week 1. I think that they're gonna get their wins, especially against like Tennessee, and I think they could get another one. I think you could get the next one against the Texans. I think they compete well with Jacksonville. So I think in that division, they can make a nice run late. I don't think they're totally out of it. Jonathan Taylor's got to get going. He's been pretty slow to start. And they're getting back Josh Downs this week. So they're going to have Pittman, Downs, and Pierce. And, I think that they are going to be able to move the ball pretty well in offense as long as Anthony Richardson isn't making horrible decisions like he did this last week against the Packers. And even that game, they barely lost. It was a one-possession game, two-possession game, one-possession game. I think that the Indianapolis Colts are going to make I think they'll be about 500 this year.
Yeah, they'll be flirting with that line. I don't disagree with that. I think my big thing for Indianapolis, I fear Jonathan Taylor's lost a step. And if he's lost a step, which is what I think has happened, I think what we've seen these first 2 weeks are going to be what to expect from him.
Yeah.
You
Hopefully
may
not,
get an
but yeah.
explosive game here and there from him, but what we've seen is going to be what you're going to get from him because he's been injured for the better part of 2 seasons now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
not
I think
completely 2 seasons, better part.
I guess you're right. Yeah, pretty much.
Because I don't want to misquote here, but let me see here.
He was started his holdout last year, and but he missed some time with injury after he came back.
I mean, yeah, he played 10 games in 23 and 11 games in 22. So
yeah,
not terrible seasons, but not 17.
Yeah,
not full seasons.
Yep.
Yeah,
Above them at number 3, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think this team is just too talented to not ultimately be second place in that division.
Yeah.
I just think that they are better than the Colts in that division. I think they're going to figure it out. They've had two tough games to start out with. And, they played the Browns, who looked a lot better when Sean decided to not be the worst quarterback in the league.
God.
So I think, Jacksonville, I think, will be much better than what they've shown in their 0-2 start. And I like Doug Peterson, the coach. I think he's going to get him back on track.
For sure. No, I was going to say, I think the thing I kind of hold my hat on is they're an AFC South team that will either, like, depending on, like, if they're the team they can totally go 6-0 in the AFC South. But 5-1 is also doable because, like you said, they're far and better than Indianapolis and Tennessee. They're gonna get those 4 wins. They kind of had a tough go. You had to go to the Miami Dolphins too. I think
week 1 they should have won that game. They absolutely should have won that game. ETN fumbles the ball at the goal line. That was a tough pill to swallow for them. They absolutely should have won that game.
And that's a Dolphins team that is very talented. Before the season, I said it. The AFC East was the Dolphins to lose. I had the Bills finishing 3rd.
Oh, wow. Okay. I get it.
For me.
I get it. Yeah, Jacksonville's had 2 tough games, Miami and then Baltimore, or the Browns, and both those teams you would say were playoff teams going into the season. So
for sure. And I think if you look at their schedule, I mean, they have plenty of opportunities. They got the Jets, who are beatable. Like I said, they got Titans and Colts twice. They got the Raiders.
They got the Patriots.
I mean, so you have a ton of teams, and you also have more opportunities. You got the Bills, you got the Bears, you got the Packers, you got the Eagles, Vikings. Like, you have plenty of other teams too that you can get staple wins and kind of make up for a game or two early in the season.
Definitely. Right. So that would be my number 2 team is Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
I think that, which means that, Baltimore is number 1.
Yep.
But I think, I just think that Cincinnati has, they kind of always do this slow start.
Yeah.
So this is kind of normal for them. I think they should have won both games that they lost. They honestly should have never even been in a game with the Patriots. If they would have played the same game that they played against the Chiefs against the Patriots, they would have blown out the Patriots. But, I guess that's what happens when everyone's hurt in the offseason on holding out and deciding they want to play like a day before the game starts. But I think they're going to
Right.
get better. I think they're going to get back on track, and honestly, they could challenge for that division now because I mean, Baltimore is 0-2.
Hmm.
The Browns are 1-1, and they look like they got a ton of questions at quarterback. And then obviously the Steelers, you never know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis with either Justin
No.
Fields or Russell Wilson. So I think that division's still up for grabs. But Baltimore is my number one team
Yeah.
just because they have Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
John
Two-time
Harbaugh.
MVP.
Yeah, John Harbaugh, and they still, Zay Flowers looks like he's turning into be an incredible weapon. Derrick Henry, we'll see what he's got left in the tank down the stretch. I just think that Baltimore is built, especially on defense, quite a bit better than Cincinnati. I just think that, I trust Baltimore a little bit more than Cincinnati to come back from this 0-2 start.
Yeah. No, and I think you hit it right on the head. I kind of have them interchangeable. You can put
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati one, you can get Baltimore one, you can put either one of them. But I would probably have to agree with you. I would have to give the Ravens a little bit more of a nod, just because for the Cincinnati Bengals, like that Patriots game, that's just a game you should not lose.
Gotta win it.
Um,
Gotta
and
win it.
truthfully, there are the only two teams on this list of 9 teams that very easily could be 2-0 right now.
Yes,
Very
yeah,
easily.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Baltimore should be. I mean, they had Kansas City on the ropes. They absolutely had Las Vegas dead and buried, and
Dead to
let them
rights.
come back. Absolutely dead, and then they let them come back. I just can't imagine a John Harbaugh team does that. Lets that go for.
No, and that's exactly, and that's a tough thing about what's at the AFC North. That's a tough thing about the Ravens and the Steelers. As many question marks as you potentially have on those teams, their coaches are just so solid and so proven that it's like you can't count them out until they're actually out.
Yeah, I mean, they might have the best coaches in that division in the entire league. I mean, they got two-time Coach of the Year Kevin Stefanski,
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, and then Zach
Even
Taylor has been to a Super Bowl. So I mean,
when I was gonna say, a lot of people once we signed Evan O'Connell was essentially Zach Taylor 2.0.
yeah, yeah,
Young guy, offensive minded, all that kind of
mm-hmm.
stuff. So yeah, no, I was gonna say we weren't that far off. Obviously, again, Jeff did the 0-2 teams. I made one to kind of see how far off we had, and personally, yeah, we didn't have it identical, but not far off. Again, I had Baltimore 1-9. I had Baltimore, Cincy, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Indy, LA, Denver, New York, Carolina.
Yeah, pretty close, really
But
close.
yeah, no, that's.
Nice.
I mean, like I said, a lot of these teams, I'm like 0-2, okay, like whatever. But those top two teams, you're like,
Yeah,
really 0-2 already?
yeah. I think I was talking. The top three you could see making the playoffs. The middle three are going to be about 500. I could see, and then the bottom three are going to be top five in the draft. They're going to be terrible.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well then I got the 9-2-0 teams. And I think I can't remember if I said it before we started these two, but I was so pumped and so excited about coming up with this idea. Then when I got down to it, I'm like, fuck, this is actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And truthfully, kind of like what you said with yours, I kind of knew the top three. I kind of knew actually, I kind of knew the top three, and then the middle, and then the 4, 5, 6. I was kind of like, yeah, you could toy with. I could see it, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, or 7, 8, 9. I really had no idea what to do, so I just kind of went with my gut. 9, I'm going with Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Despite being 2-0 and
Mm-hmm.
having the first two games on the road,
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh, they are the only. Wait, what did I put down here? Sorry, the 3 games. They only scored 31 points through 2 weeks, which is 26th in the league. And with so it's funny through two games, they put up 521 yards of offense, and they've only allowed 521 yards of offense on the defensive side, which is actually fifth in the league, which is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
really good.
So I think That with also having a league best +5 takeaways and with 4 interceptions and a fumble recovery, I think if this offense can get going, similar to like what we are talking about with the NFC North, I stand by it. Best when all quarterbacks are healthy, best division in the league. It's just so much talent there. And then Seattle, I got at 8.
Okay.
They, for me, they went to Denver or they hosted Denver, and then they played New England. I guess I didn't really say so. I'm very much a numbers guy. But
Yep.
one of the things I didn't want to be so analytical that everybody's like, well, what the hell are you really doing here? I really wanted to take a look at, were you winning at home, winning away? Who did you play? And a lot of these, like for Seattle, as good as they can be, they beat 2 teams that they should have beat, are crappy teams,
Yeah.
and they kind of kept it relatively close against New England and Denver.
Yep. I yeah. I think didn't Denver get 2 safeties?
I think
Or
you're
did
right.
Seattle get 2 safeties? I think Denver got 2 safeties on Seattle.
I think you're right. And again, we talk about it on the podcast about like not having like too many moral victories and stuff like that. But again, like these two are more so games that like the Broncos and Patriots lost these games more than the Seattle Seahawks won these games, which, again, they're only, I mean, even 2 games into the season in points differential, they're only, what's that, +9?
Yeah.
So, and
No.
then I think one of the things I wanted to stay away from is looking forward to how well they could be, because again, 2-0, we're not looking ahead. But one thing to be mindful for the Seahawks team, they have, if you take a look on their Wednesday 9-18, Ross did not participate. There's a lot of names out there. So just a team to kind
Walker
of keep.
hurt.
Yep. Brady Russell, Jerome Baker, Leonard Williams, DK Metcalf. So,
We'll see.
could go
See.
downhill very, very quickly. 7, I had the LA Chargers.
Nice.
I really do like John Harbaugh hyping up Justin Herbert. I think they're going to do great things together. The one thing that kind of dinged them for me is their win over Carolina. And it's not necessarily fair to them, but if you're playing Carolina, you should be killing them. And they played them
Very
if
close.
you take away the score, they played them in the early part of that game a little bit closer than I thought. Because I really think the Chargers could squeak in to a wild card spot, even though they got Kansas City in there. I think starting off 2-0 helps them with that case.
They're going to have 2 wins against the Broncos.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
know, I
2 wins
agree. I
against the
think
Broncos,
they
and
could
then
split with the Raiders and
I could see them splitting. I could see them winning both. I think, as much as I hate to admit it, because I really do like Devonta Adams, Vegas is kind of
up and down.
I don't hate Antonio Pierce either. I just think I'm not really sure what's going on, because they're not really sure what's going on at quarterback. But for some reason, it doesn't seem like that's the only like glaring issue they have. It seems like there's
their running game is not incredible either. They got a iffy running game too.
Right. Yeah, so that's what I have through the bottom 3. And then 6, 5, and 4. Again, I went with my gut on this. 6, I have Tampa Bay.
I knew you were going to say Tampa Bay. That's how I had it too.
What?
That's what I feel. That's what I think too.
I think as good as a game, and as amazing as it is to beat Detroit in Detroit, again, you have to win the game. But it was more of a Detroit loss in my mind, with that Dan Campbell
they really did
about
let
his
it go.
clock management shit. But you got the job done against Washington, who I will swallow my words. They still have some time to turn around. I think Washington's going to be a good team this year. I thought Jaden Daniels was going to have a year, but we're just going to have to wait and see. 5, I had our Vikings.
Okay, very good.
I really wanted to put them 4, but I couldn't in good faith put them above the New Orleans team that beat Dallas in Dallas. As
Handily.
much as some of the notion, and you know this too, you probably are the one that told me it before I told it to you being an Eagles fan. They're the most average team in the league and have been average for as long as I can remember. But for some reason, year after year, not just from Cowboys fan base, but from analysts and everything, we got to hear, oh, it's going to be their year. It's never going to
Yep.
be the fucking year.
Nope. Never. Hasn't been a
Um,
year in 20 plus, almost 30 years. They stink. And
and
yeah, that's all we
And
need to
now
say about
that
the
Sean
Dallas
Payton is
Cowboys.
out of there, now I can actually enjoy that team because I actually never really I
Can
liked
you name their coach?
Dennis Allen,
There
which
you go. A lot
it's
of people who can't.
amazing. It's amazing that they're 2-0 right now because I also made a bold prediction in the football preview. He was going to be the first head coach fired this year, but after a 2-0 start, he'd probably have to lose like 6 or 7 straight to
Yeah.
even get to the hot seat at this point. But yeah, so I got Minnesota at 5. I really wanted to put them higher because I really wanted to put them higher. My main reason for wanting to put them higher was because they beat a Giants team who a lot of people thought the Giants were going to beat us, and we not only beat them, we killed them. We made I don't mean this to the extreme, Bryce Young, but we made Daniel Jones look like a worse Bryce Young. Like,
No,
we made him look terrible.
that's a very good assessment of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a bigger, dopier looking Bryce Young.
I mean, I just have to say I am, and I
Daniel
don't
Jones
know,
walked so that Bryce Young could run.
seriously.
Daniel Jones is so bad. He's probably a great guy. Horrible quarterback. Better
I mean,
person than quarterback.
it blows my mind anybody would give him the amount of money that New York did. Maybe they
Incredible.
were desperate. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm, I don't know that I don't know that we've talked too much about the Viking season this year, but I'm kind of on this realization with the podcast and everything, being realistic with my expectations, because as much as I think this team is a good team, if you're honest with yourself, I think this team has the ability to be a good playoff team. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're a couple years away from being a Super Bowl
Mm-hmm.
contender. But again, we talked about it before we came on here. The pieces are there. You
Oh
have
yeah.
solid, um, we got solid guys and everything, and a lot of people might be saying, "Oh, they let San Francisco get back in there." Again, not looking forward to things. Sam Darnold beat in the fourth quarter the 49ers without Justin Jefferson, without
Correct.
Jordan Addison, and without, when healthy, a top 3 tight end in Tyler
Mm-hmm.
Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Again, once those 3 are back 100%
Oh
healthy,
my gosh.
I'm pretty sure JJ's like pretty healthy. They're just trying
Yeah.
to just make sure nothing gets aggravated.
Yeah.
That's a team that I would not like. When they're
No.
completely healthy, I don't think there's a team in the league we can't. I don't want to go as far to say beat, but there's not a team we can't play with.
No,
I
Darnold
just
moved the ball in the fourth quarter when he had to without those guys. He
Jalen
was throwing
Naylor
to Jalen
is
Naylor and Trent Sherfield and like Johnny Munt and Josh Oliver. I mean, he was not using exactly top tier receiving options. Moved the ball, got first downs, won the game. And they honestly would have started blowing them out if Aaron Jones doesn't fumble that ball on the goal line. He's
seriously.
in there. They blow them out because I think after that they went on a 99-yard touchdown drive.
Yeah, no, and I was starting to think. I remember watching that game, and I remember thinking, "Holy shit! If we score here, that would have put us up with
Mm-hmm.
pending extra point. That would have put us up what 27 to
Yes.
6
Yes. Yep.
in the fourth
I think
quarter."
yeah.
So I think should that happen, in the fourth quarter, I think if Shanahan is smart, he starts to think about taking out some of his players so they don't get injured.
Yeah, I
I
mean
don't know.
the way it was going, the way like Trent Williams was gassed, the way that some of their pass rushers, Bosa was gassed in the fourth quarter. They were just dead. They didn't have it in them, and yeah, I think you might have saw that happen. That's a good take.
No.
Might have happened.
And then so then just really quickly again, I got Tampa 6. Minnesota 5. Like I said, I really wanted to put them higher, but other than New Orleans, I couldn't in good faith
Mm-hmm.
as a football fan put them in the top 3 just because of who else is there.
They'll have a chance after this week if they beat Houston.
Good segue. Number 3, Houston. Fun fact, they're actually the only 2-0 team right now that are both top 10 in total offensive yards as well as defensive yards allowed. Only
Wow.
team.
Hmm.
Only team.
Interesting.
What was it? I think I had it pulled up. No, I didn't. I lied. Um, but personally, I think as 2-0 is still 2-0, watching the games that I have, I've been more impressed with their defense than their offense. I
Mm-hmm.
anticipated, I mean, this is an offense that a lot of people thought could have gone to the Super
Mm-hmm.
Bowl,
Yeah.
um, and fell 2 games short.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 games short.
Divisional round, they lost to Baltimore.
And they were, and in Baltimore, that was, if I remember, unless I'm remembering something incorrectly, that was kind of a little bit of a mini shootout. Like I think in the second half or in
I
the
think
fourth
it did
quarter,
turn into it in the second half.
Baltimore kind of ran away with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas, for rookie quarterback, brand new to the whole thing, had been to the playoffs for the first time in how many years? Looked solid, so I anticipated them coming out guns a-blazing with Diggs, with Collins, with all
Yeah.
those guys, and they just didn't. That's why I couldn't put them 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm. It's fair.
All right, now are you ready? You there?
Yeah. Did a little drum roll on my table.
Number 2, Kansas City Chiefs.
I like it.
Through 2 games, I have been more impressed with the Buffalo Bills than I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
I agree.
Well, Jack, they beat Baltimore. They beat Cincinnati. Once again, those are both games that Cincinnati lost that game, and Baltimore lost that game. The defending, say what you want, the defending Super Bowl champions are a toe and one of the softest fucking defensive pass interference calls I've ever seen. Away from being 0-2 right now.
Oh, I know.
You
I
don't want
agree
to
with
hear
you.
it.
I agree with you.
You don't want to hear it, but they have. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, they're 2-0. Like, this is what I hate about the Kansas City Chiefs. They find ways to win and go 2-0, despite Patrick Mahomes throwing not 1, not 2, but 3 picks in the first 3 weeks.
They're only +8 differential on their point differential, worse than Seattle even.
Yeah.
Tied with Houston.
And
I mean, they're not exactly winning games by a lot. And by the way, going back to New Orleans, +62
yeah.
in the point differential.
Which
Crazy.
again, and
Crazy.
part of the reason I didn't want to take into effect like how is this going to go going forward, because as much as I don't want to knock what they got going for them down there, let me pull these stats up for you really quick. As much as I think Alvin Kamara is awesome, as much as Derek Carr is a good quarterback, Derek Carr is not going to average 11.4 yards per catch
He
the
will this
entire
week
year.
again. This week
What?
again, he's going to. This week again, I expect them to put up another 50 points this week.
Who do they got this upcoming week?
The Eagles.
You think they're gonna
Yeah,
destroy
Eagles
your?
can't do anything on defense. That is like no, spoiler alert. It is my mortal lock of the millennium. Saints are going to
Really?
let's see, what's their 2.5 over the Eagles is their line. Minus
That's
two and a
it?
half. Mortal lock of the millennium. Saints are going to beat the piss out of the Eagles this week.
Damn. Hey, you heard it here first, and if you haven't already heard me say it, this is coming from an Eagles fan.
The Eagles can't stop the run. The Saints base everything off the run. Alvin Kamara could have 200 yards, 4 touchdowns in the first half. I
Yeah.
hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong. And it's going to be ugly down in New Orleans.
I like it. Oh, yeah, it probably doesn't help that it's in New Orleans. I think if it were
Yeah.
up in the link, it might be a little bit different.
Yeah, I would start Jamal Williams even in fantasy because I think he's going to be playing the entire second half. They're going to be upside so much.
Wow. But yeah, like I said, yeah, I've been more impressed with Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's been, like I said earlier, Josh Allen's been kind of making me eat my words a little bit here. I had them finishing third in their division. I love him, but I didn't think he'd be able to get this done without a Diggs, Gabe Davis,
I think
relying
it's
on.
what they needed. I think it's what they
But
needed. They needed a guy that wasn't out there forcing them to stick balls where throw balls where he shouldn't throw them, and now he can just go to whoever's open. He doesn't got to worry about somebody getting all mad and crying back in the huddle about not getting the ball.
yeah,
He's just delivering it to who needs it to get the ball.
yeah, and yeah, and who's open? Who's
Yeah,
open? But
that's all it is. The scheme is the scheme now. They're not beholden to one guy that's just demanding the ball every throw and will throw a temper tantrum if he doesn't get it.
you already
I
saw
think,
him throw a little bit of a mild tantrum to
yeah,
C.J.
yeah,
Stroud
I know.
against
I
that.
thought that was a dangerous move bringing in Stephon Diggs with a second-year quarterback, but we'll see. Hopefully he can. I hope he can just play his role as number two, number three wide receiver guy. He's already 31, I think.
Yeah,
30, 31. Like, man, you're not 26, 27 anymore.
no, he's past his.
Yeah. Yeah, solid, solid. He's gonna make a nice. Saw him make a nice toe tap catch, but he's just not gonna be the big field stretcher, the guy that gets open downfield. He's just not.
No doubt. Well, and yeah, and like I said, these are not power rankings. As far as I'm concerned, the Kansas City Chiefs are, still the best team in the league. I don't know about you. I'm of the notion, you're the best until somebody's dethroned you.
Absolutely.
They're the reigning champs. They're the best team
Back to
in
back
the
reigning
league
champs.
not currently, or yeah, currently, but I just threw 2 weeks of the 24 season. You can take a look at what they've done in the past. I mean, again, this isn't a team that really lost a ton of guys this offseason,
Mm-mm.
and they've
If
added
anything,
some
they added,
pieces.
yeah, added pieces that I like a lot.
Um, it's a dangerous team, but through 2 weeks of the season, I've been more impressed with the Bills than I've been with the Kansas City Chiefs.
I think
And
that's fair.
so, yeah, again, I got Buffalo, Kansas City, Houston, New Orleans, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Chargers, Seattle, Pittsburgh. And I think between the 2-0 teams and 0-2 teams, there's only one matchup this week that features two 2-0 teams or two 0-2 teams.
Oh,
And it's
really?
the Houston Vikings game, I
Oh,
think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Only one.
Somebody's always.
So it'll be an interesting week. Again, I kind of talked about it earlier. I'm not as impressed so far with Houston's offense. So I have faith that I think we could slow them down a little bit. But that defense, man, that defense looks just as good, if not maybe a little
Mhm.
bit better than ours. I've been amazed. I texted my dad today. I've been amazed through 2 weeks. We've been able to put the pressure that we've put on these quarterbacks and not just get absolutely shredded by the pass.
No, I know. I know it's been crazy. The secondary is really holding up. I mean, even the linebackers are doing an incredible job in coverage. Been hearing people talk about how much better it is to not have Daniil Hunter in that scheme because he just cannot drop back into coverage to save his life. And now you got Van Ginkel over there, and that's just like what he does. They're just so much better set up for the scheme that Flores wants to run now than the old 4-3 scheme because now the 3-4 scheme, and
Yeah.
I think they just have so much better outside linebackers that can drop back into coverage and help out in
Yeah.
coverage too. I think it's just much better set up.
Well, and again, we talked about it earlier too. I mean, this is a team, like it or not, this is a team that has talent at every position. Harrison Smith, I don't give a fuck who wants to come at me with Harrison Smith
Mm-hmm.
until he retires. He is a top 10, if not top 5 safety.
Yes,
And
100%.
Bynum last year made a case for him to be a top. I mean, there's two. I mean, he made a case to be a top 15 for sure, top 20
Mm-hmm.
safety in the league as well, right up there. And then you go to the corners, you got Stephon Gilmore. I think he's lost a step, but I think his presence in the locker room will do wonders for the
Yeah.
I can't even remember some of those Akil Evans and some of those young guys.
They
And
went
you've
from
always
like the
seen it.
youngest. They went from like the youngest secondary to like the most experienced secondary now with Gilmore and Murphy. They're like actually have professionals playing veterans back there instead of a bunch of rookies. I mean, I still remember Paul Cam Dancer. What are you doing? I mean, you just are going to get killed when you got a bunch of young guys in the secondary that aren't seasoned veterans, and now they got the veterans back there that can still play the game and cover. I think they
Yeah.
look incredible. I think the Vikings look really good. Really solid football team.
Well, and it's
Excited to watch them.
so am I. And they're one of those teams. They're not the sexiest team. They're not going to put up 500-600 yards on you. They're going to put enough up to win the games that they're going to win. Um, but it's also worth noting we're number one through the first 2 weeks with sacks.
Yes, yep.
We got the Daniel Jones 5 times, and the great Brock Purdy. I'm not dissing him. I'm more so just saying like, hey, look at what this team's able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy has proven himself. We
Yes.
got to him sacked him 6 times, and had 12 QB hits.
Yep.
Like, that's just unheard of.
Lit him up. That was great. I know the defense is buzzing. I mean, Patrick Jones looks incredible. He's gotten so much better. I thought he was a total waste of a draft pick. And he's turned his career completely around. He's gotten so much better, improved incredibly. And now I think he's leading the league in sacks for 2 weeks. I mean,
Yeah, I think
good for him.
I can't remember who was above him, but he
Maybe
has
TJ
4.
Watt with like 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think
TJ
Watt's
Watt's been
with
killing
6,
me.
and then he's
Well, I
there
think
with
how many
4.
times did he get the Kirk?
Seriously, no, it's a good spot to be in for the Vikings, which kind of leads
Mm-hmm.
us into one of the last things I thought we'd talk about before we wrap up here. This Houston game, I think it should be a fun game. I don't really like going back on predictions unless
Mm-hmm.
there's just a ton. It's like a completely different roster, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
injuries. So I had this as a loss, and truthfully, with winning these first 2 games, looking at the schedule, I think this is a game that we could afford to lose as long as we still look presentable doing it.
Mm-hmm. I
So I
agree.
think, unfortunately, this is a game that we're going to end up losing. I think 34-31. I
I
think
love
Darnold
the
is going to have another day. He's behind 2 of the best tackles in the league in
Mm-hmm.
Brian O'Neill and why am I blanking right now? Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw.
Yep.
I can't remember our guards at the moment. I think Garrett Bradbury has, in the last 2
Yeah.
years, has
Been way
proven
better.
himself to being garbage to a little bit above garbage, and then all the way to like,
Who's
okay,
it?
maybe you're
Brandel?
top 12 now.
Who's the other one? Brandel?
Brandel, yeah, and then Quinnisberry maybe or something.
Quaceberry, yeah.
Quinnisberry, yeah.
I think he was in there.
I mean, they're not top 5 by any means. You just need guys to give
Yeah.
your quarterback some time, go through his reads, and make the play.
They're not what you're talking about after the game anymore. You know, it used to always be Vikings fan line would be the
Swiss
offensive line
cheese.
is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Can't do anything without the offensive line. They've actually got pretty good. They've got a really good offensive line right now, and I love what they're doing on the offensive line. I mean, they held Bosa to like nothing. I mean, yeah, he got
No,
what, 1 sack?
I think he had 1 sack and maybe an additional QB hit, maybe 2.
Mm,
But that's a
that's
quiet game.
really good. And they were going one-on-one with him a lot. They were not doing a ton of chip blocking. I mean, they on that 97-yard touchdown, I think they pretty much went one-on-one blocking and let Sam step up and make a throw. I mean, it
Yeah.
was pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I mean that's like my key to the game is protect Darnold because you could see
Yeah.
how the Texans heat up Caleb Williams. He had 37 dropbacks, 36 pressures.
Yes.
Obviously, we got a much better offensive line than the Bears, but if you can just keep Darnold from getting pressured that much, I think they got a really good chance.
It should be a fun game. How do you see this one going?
Oh, man, I actually I wrote down a couple NFL bets, and that was one of my bets was the Vikes to cover 2.5. I think it is a 2 1-point game. I honestly think the Vikings can win this game. I don't see why not, especially at home.
Yeah.
Um, why not? No, I
No,
think that they absolutely can win it. especially if you got JJ. It'd be nice to get Addison back. I don't know if it's looking like he's going to be back, but other than
It
that,
didn't
they
seem
really
like he
don't have
was
a ton
supposed
of
to be out that long.
injuries.
It didn't seem like he was supposed to be out that
No,
long.
I think they're very much live in this game. I think they can win this game. I think it's going to be a one-score game regardless
Yeah.
who wins it. I think like 7 or less points is going to decide this game. I could see what you're talking about, a nice little shootout. I could see this going over. I could see a lot of points being put up in this game. I could also see both defenses locking in though. It's going
Yeah.
to be a
No,
very interesting. Yeah, I think it's honestly like the game of the weekend. I think this is going to be an incredible game. I don't know that there's many games that you could say are going to be as exciting or you're as excited to see as that game.
mhm.
I mean, the only other game that I think is as exciting might be like the Lions Cardinals. If the Lions can figure out their offense going, I could see that being a ton of points being scored. But
And if they can't, to see
yeah, I
them
mean, if
lose
they
to the
can't,
Cardinals.
I could see the Cardinals beating them. I mean, the Cardinals are actually 3-point underdogs at home. I thought that was kind of crazy with the way
Mhm.
Detroit's been playing.
I like it. And yeah, I was gonna say so. Okay, that's a good one. I was gonna say I'm gonna stick by. I think we're gonna lose, but honestly, again, very similar to the Gopher game. I think the points are just too close for my liking. So I was gonna say how I would bet this game is I would actually, yeah, I would take the over 46, and it's currently at 46 and a half points.
Really, is that it? Wow.
Yeah, I would hammer the over. I mean, I think this is going to be an interesting game where you're going to see good solid defense, but also really good offense. I think it's very possible both of these defenses get 5, 6 sacks,
Yeah,
and
I
it's a
agree.
31-34 game.
I agree. I agree.
So I would take that. My lock of the week, I'm actually going to take the Jets beating the Patriots. Currently 6.5 point favorites, and yeah, I think I think Aaron Rodgers is. I've been saying this, for the last month and a half. I think he's going to be good enough to keep them in the hunt, good enough to keep them within the playoff picture. But he's 40 and he's coming off an Achilles injury. He doesn't have that mobility anymore. He's not able to be the guy that the team needs him to be, and that the guy that he wants to be. I also don't think hot take. I don't think that offense is as explosive as people
No,
prime it up to be. Brees
no.
Hall is a stud. Don't get me wrong. He's top 5 for sure. Probably 3 running back in the league. And Garrett Wilson is definitely a top 5 young receiver. But outside of that, they don't have a ton. They got
You
Tyler.
take
Okay.
away the back shoulder go ball. Take away the back shoulder fade. I mean, the Jets' offense was horrible. It seems like that's all they're running is somebody runs straight down the sideline and Rodgers is going to throw a go ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see that offense being very creative. I don't really see that offense being.
Yeah. No, I like it. And then I'm actually gonna go out on a limb here because there weren't a lot of upsets that I liked. Panthers are plus 5.5 against the Raiders. They're not gonna win, but again, I talked about it earlier. I think the Raiders are a step up from a dumpster fire. The dumpster fires, at least for them, is starting to get put out, or like, no, I shouldn't say put out. It's at least contained.
In the
Carolina
dumpster.
is just nobody
Yeah.
knows what's going on. the the Raiders seemed a little bit contained. I could very well see this being a 3 point game, maybe 4 points. I haven't really been doing that great on my picks so far this year for that, but yeah, I think it should be a close game, and especially when you have two teams bottom of the barrel like that,
Mm-hmm.
anything can happen. With it
Yeah.
only being 5.5, I'm like, why the hell not?
We'll see. I looked at it. I'd be lying to you if I tell you, yeah, I didn't want. I did look at it, but I ultimately came to the conclusion I cannot be the guy that bets on the Panthers.
Well,
I
and
just
it's
couldn't do
funny
it. I
because
love
looking,
your confidence in being able to do it. I couldn't do it.
I appreciate that. And the other thing is too, I was kind of amazed because I was going to take the Saints as underdogs to the Eagles, But then I was like, well, no, they're not. That's because they're at home.
Yeah,
The line's closer. I'm like, wait, they're not the underdogs. Okay, I can't take them for my underdog pick.
yeah, yeah. No, I know.
But I
Like I
mean,
said, lock of the millennium, lock of the universe. New Orleans 2.5 over the
no,
Eagles.
but overall, I think this could be a good week. We got, like I said, Thursday night football. Regardless, I think Patriots Jets should be a pretty good game.
Hmm.
I think the Patriots are better than the Jets, but it should be a blowout. It should at least be entertaining. Broncos at Bucks. You can see if Sean Payton and Bo Nix are going to be able to do anything. Probably not. Bears and Colts, I could see, entertaining, but I don't know. Could be a good game. Could see a lot of good games this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're gonna see some close ones for sure. I think the Texans Vikings game though. I think that one's gonna be an awesome game, back and forth, lots of points,
Yeah,
and it's just some really good teams playing. That one's gonna be a great one.
I'm gonna like it. Well, before we let you go, offensive and defensive prediction for the Vikings game.
Offensive, Ty Chandler leads the team in rushing attempts again. I
Rushing
think
it.
he does. Yep, I think he gets the ball more than Aaron Jones again.
I think he was solid.
He was. He was working
And even
really
that
good.
first week.
I know. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think Ty Chandler leads the team in rushing again, and then on defense, I've got another Andrew Van Ginkel interception.
I love it. I
He
love it.
ran right by one this last week too. He could
He
have had his
did.
second.
Oh,
He ran right by it.
and you could see right after
I
that play
know.
they
He's like,
canned to him, and you
oh,
could see him laughing to Blake and
yeah.
who else was out there? Greenard, I think.
Yep, he ran right by it. He could have got another one. I think they try to do it, and I think he picks another one off this
No,
week.
I like it. Defensively, I'm actually I think we're gonna hold Diggs to his third straight less than 50-yard receiving game. Piss him off a little bit. But offensively, I kind of like where you were going. I think Chandler and Jones will combine for over 200 rushing yards.
Ooh.
I think the Texans defense has looked pretty good, but I don't know that they've seen a running back like these guys yet. Jones, if he's healthy, can look solid, but
Yeah,
Ty Chandler, I said last year we should have played him more. He
last year
is
for sure.
small, but
He's
he
got
is
the burst.
fast and he's got that burst. Yeah, and he's not as elusive or as big as some of these other backs, but because he's smaller, he has that extra speed that just some of these guys like
Oh,
Derrick Henry just don't have.
and it looks like he's just developed so well to know where his blocks are going and where to find the hole. He's done a really good job this year. I've loved watching him.
No, it's been a good one. It's been a good year so far. Well, any last closing words, my friend?
No, just thanks a lot for having me on again. I really appreciate it. It's always a great time, and I love talking football and sports with you.
Heck yeah, man. Glad to have you on. Before we let you guys go for the night, make sure I'll put once again this week the Venmo tag. Get in for the first touchdown challenge. Um, Congratulations! Actually, I did it last week too. Congratulations to Sam Puppy for the second straight week and Katie Cashman. Yes, that is my mom. Both winning last week, so slowly kind of getting bigger. But yeah, it should be fun. Go check that out. Go subscribe. Go to TikTok, all those fun stuff. And we will see you guys next week. Till next time, Minnie. Then the really cool thing about this stuff is that extra second or so.